All right, welcome back. We're talking about Ben Roethlisberger and his future. Mark Kaboly, if it doesn't work out here, Ben Roethlisberger says he wants to play. Will he go to another team? And if so, which makes sense to you?
Well, I don't think any of them make sense, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess he can go to Denver, but Denver's nowhere near winning. You have to go to a team like the Colts, and obviously they don't need a quarterback right now. You need somebody who's close to winning, then he can put him over the top. But I don't think that's even the issue right now. I don't think he would go anywhere else. If there's anybody that knows about legacy and how he's viewed in the greater scheme of things, I think it's Roethlisberger. So I think it would be a tough pill for him to retire or told not he doesn't want to be back. But I think he's well aware of his place in history amongst the Pittsburgh Steelers, that he doesn't want to be wearing a Chargers jersey or the Rams jersey like Namath did. So I think he would just retire, and maybe in 5 or 10 years from now we'll hear that he was really pushed out. I think that's the way it would go.
Right. If Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Bob, he's going to be the quarterback of his 21-bedroom house in Sewickley, and that's about it. He's not going to go somewhere else and play quarterback. He's not going to go to some other franchise. It just, and you know what really made me feel that way too is kind of the documentary before the season when you saw kind of a different side of Ben. You saw how close he was with his kids. You saw them growing up, and then you heard through in a couple different interviews he did through this pandemic about doing school with them, and they're starting to get to an age, I think, where Ben doesn't really want to be away from them. In the football season, he would have one of two choices if he were to play somewhere else. They'd either have to uproot and kind of go with him, or he'd have to go and kind of live on his own. And I just don't think at his age and where kind of his kids are structurally that he would want to he'd want to choose either one of those roads. I think he'd retire and just pack it in.
I mean, and look, part of this isn't like a personal thing. It's not so much his level of play has declined to the point where it's the money. It's always about the money. And look, this was a very intentional choice by the Steelers. I mean, they had chances in 2018 to try to get Ben's successor. They had chances in other drafts to try to get somebody. They could have got Lamar Jackson, for example, instead of Terrell Edmonds in 2018. This bill was coming due. It's coming due now, and look, there are hurt feelings on all sides. But if we're talking about whether Ben wants to play without Pouncey and Vance McDonald and Randy Fichtner and Al and Juju, the idea of him going to another city and starting over just because is tough. So it is very hard to imagine him wanting to go somewhere else and moonlight and stay in a hotel while his family stays here and him play out the season. I mean, it's a circumstance. The can's been kicked down the road long enough. They can't kick it anymore. They have to make a decision, and that's where we're at.
Right. And I think they're going to make a decision to bring him back. And I've said that from the beginning. I still maintain that, and it's going to be at far lesser money. And I think he's opened up that door for them, and we'll see what happens as they move forward. And it'll set up an interesting after next year what happens with their quarterback situation. All right, let's talk about the other name that's up a lot, Colin, and that's J.J. Watt. It seems like no matter who you are and what team, people want J.J. Watt on their team. If it's a bargain basement price, I would say yes, but let's say it's not. Let's say it's $5 to $8 million a year. Would you do it?
No, absolutely not. Not for $5 or $8 million a year. Now, if he comes out and says that he'd play for free, yes. But not. There's no nostalgia factor. The Steelers can't be in the business of just employing someone's brother or three brothers, if that's the case. They got to go and employ the best football players that they can, in relation to the price. And for that price, no, I wouldn't bring J.J. Watt in. Absolutely not. If he wants to work for veteran minimum, now that's a different story. Then we'll talk, but not for that price that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Kevin didn't even, in typical fashion. I mean, like I had an email chain with other AP beat writers in other cities, and I said, hey, Kevin's talking, and I'm like, he's not going to say anything about JJ specifically. I mean, it would be like the ultimate hometown discount in a way, right? It's basically like get a chance to play with your brothers. That would be cool. But do you think, we already talked about this, JJ wants to go to a place where he can win a Super Bowl now. Do I think that JJ Watt is the missing link, even at $1.5 million a year to get the team to the Super Bowl? No. I mean, I think it's a fun storyline. It's something fun to think about, but I just don't see it as a possibility.
It's always about money. I mean, even when you have some of these quarterbacks that take the hometown discount, what is it down from 30 to 24 million? It's not 17 down to 1 million. So it's always about money. And let's be honest with you. How good of a player is he anymore? Is he better than Tuitt and Hayward? No. I mean, this is a guy that's missed a ton of games over the past 4 or 5 years. I don't even know where he'd fit in. I would say this. I would just play around with him and say, hey, JJ, you can come here, but we got to get rid of Derek Watt. That's where your money's coming from.
And that might be a good transition. That would be something to consider. All right, we have a lot.
I was just gonna say, I mean, one of the things we talk about, maybe TJ says, you know what, they've exercised my option. I don't need a long-term deal. Although they really do need TJ to take a long-term deal to free up money next year. So maybe that's how it works. Maybe TJ's going to be have a $41 million cap hit in 8 years, and that's the trade-off for getting JJ here.
And you'll be pushing him out, Graves. You'll be pushing him out.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Sidney Crosby's night, and also, do you believe now that Tristan Jarry has turned the corner? Are the Penguins more of a playoff team than they were a week ago when we were here talking about their troubles? That's next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.